Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this Ag Forecast, brought to you by Agrible, the makers of Morning Farm Report. Our software gives growers the insights to make the best decisions possible with their operations. Well, if you're waking up early and you're watching this video very early on Monday morning, I want to let you know that overnight on Sunday brought in some pretty rough conditions across part of the eastern Corn Belt, really Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. And the animation you're seeing here, this is a radar animation kind of showing that precipitation late in the day on Sunday, getting into early Monday morning. Now, what was going on was we had a high pressure center that kind of established itself over the southeast. And what that's done is that the clockwise flow around that's really brought some warm air along with a lot of moisture right out of the Gulf, and it's just running right up through the middle part of the Mississippi River Valley. And what we're doing is we're lifting that warm, moist air over the top of a very shallow layer of very cold air. And it's cold partly because of the snow cover that's still on the ground. So we have ground temperatures that are at or below freezing, while the air temperature above it is moisture laden and above freezing. So we've really brought in what we call a great pattern, overrunning pattern for freezing rain and some sleet and some snow. So there's going to be some very slick roads across Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, basically due to this kind of freezing rain pattern that we had going on. So be on the lookout for this. So this is our first system that's causing a lot of problems. But I want to show you something kind of neat here. Because of the presence of that big dome of high pressure here, you're looking at a map that shows you the 24-hour temperature change. And because of that warm air kind of streaming up out of the Gulf of Mexico around that high, we saw temperatures, late in the night on Sunday that were about 30 degrees warmer than normal at the heart of this. I'm sorry, not 30 degrees warmer than normal, 30 degrees warmer than the 24 hours before this. And what's interesting is that just brought it back up to freezing. So it was so cold before this warmer air kind of arrived. So it's an interesting pattern to see this. And so since we've been talking about temperatures, let's get into the kind of longer view on what temperatures are going to be doing. So the animation you just see right here, I'll go ahead and stop this 6 p.m. on Thursday. That just showed you the next few days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, getting into most of the day Thursday, what the temperature patterns are going to look like. And that was fast, so check this out. Let's go back to it. Here's what we see on Monday. This is basically midnight on Monday, so here's early morning temperatures. We can see that a lot of the, call that the western 3/4 of the country, are going to be seeing near average to above average temperatures. In fact, we get in through Monday. Watch this. Here's Tuesday. And some really warm air starts to come in on Wednesday. Now, we may be able to see temperatures in through a big section of this area right in through here, where we may get back up in the upper 40s, maybe the lower 50s Wednesday into Thursday. Here it is, Thursday around 6 a.m., getting us some much warmer than average temperatures. Maybe the peak in the temperatures in Illinois, Indiana, this area on Thursday, middle of the day, may get into the 50s. But as you can see, there's pretty sharp contrast right here through the middle part of the country, and you just saw another huge plunge of cold air coming down. So the big thing we have to talk about as we move forward throughout this week is the low pressure systems that are going to be developing here in the mid and lower Mississippi River Valley, because as they come through, they're going to be causing some major problems here for the eastern Corn Belt. And as they take shape, could be some bigger snows out here out in the central part of the country. And we'll also be talking about California. So I want to show you, again, some kind of 4-panel plots here to kind of reconstruct for you the three-dimensional flow of the atmosphere. So I want to tell you what they are first. Up here in the upper left, this is the 300 millibar winds. So we're looking at the wind speed in the jet stream. What we have here is 500 millibar vorticity. So we're looking at where there's spin in the atmosphere. Again, that causes air to rise. This is a map of low level, so 850 millibar. This is low level temperature anomalies. And down here in the bottom right, this is going to be showing you the surface precipitation types. So this is valid for 6 a.m. on Monday. So you can clearly see we're still dealing with here in Indiana, Ohio, some of that sleet, freezing rain, and snow as it moves on out to the east. But as I kind of step through this, I'm going to show you the big features we have to be on the lookout for this week. The first one is this. California is going to be getting quite a bit of precipitation. We have a cutoff low in the upper levels of the atmosphere that's going to be kind of coming onshore right in the heart of California. And as it does so, bringing a lot of Pacific moisture, it's going to lift that air both through the fact that there is a cutoff low there, but also right over the top of the mountains. We're going to get a lot of precipitation in the form of rain in the lower elevations and then snow in the higher elevations. So this is good. This is a wet West Coast pattern to get things started. But it's that cutoff low we have to watch as it comes across the mountains into the desert southwest, kind of near the Four Corners area. Because by the time I get into noon on Wednesday, we start to see that trough kind of take shape here. And this is where things get interesting. In between a trough and a ridge, so right in through here, we have strong upper level support in the form of divergence. And it's also reflected here by watching where we're going to be moving this vorticity maximum in this direction. So this is basically toward the panhandles of Oklahoma, Texas, into parts of Kansas. Now, as that happens, the low pressure develops. You can see it right here, and warm air goes racing out ahead of it, and cold air comes on the backside. And this is good because what's going to happen is as that low takes shape, we're going to be bringing in some precipitation into a very dry part of the country. Some parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas have gone better than 80 days, I think, without precipitation. So this is needed. This is a breakdown in the overall pattern that we've seen for the last, I don't know, let's call it a month or so. Maybe not quite that much, maybe 3 weeks. But here we go. Watch what's going to happen after this. So what I want you to see if you're watching this here in the eastern part of the Corn Belt is this. First, we're going to see a pretty large area here as the initial pulse of that little shortwave kind of goes up toward Wisconsin. We're going to be seeing kind of some widespread snows spreading across this area. Okay, so could be some significant snowfall totals coming out of this. But then this system is not done. Watch as I continue to step through here. What we're going to see here is we're going to see this trough, which was once angled this way. We called that a positively tilted trough. It then became neutral, and now it's swinging through and it's negatively tilted. So that means I'm cutting a line through the trough axis here. It's now got a tilt kind of like a backslash, if you will. And as that happens, that puts the strongest upper level support again in this area, and it's going to be racing on off to the north and east. And so we're going to be seeing this vorticity advected or moved in this direction. Now, why you should care about all of that is really seen in the bottom two panels. We're going to be developing basically a low pressure strand that's going to go across parts of Tennessee and Kentucky, developing on this kind of bottom part of this trough here. And as it does so, it's going to be lifting some pretty warm air about a mile above our heads, bringing it all the way up toward, the eastern Great Lakes. Now that's going to wrap through the eastern Corn Belt, which means we're going to be bringing some really, really warm air about a mile above our heads. Now why this is of concern is because at the surface, we're going to be bringing a lot of cold air racing behind that cold front underneath that warm air. And that is why the model's right now picking up on a pretty good chance at possibly seeing some more ice, sleet, or snow going across parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio again at the end of this week. So this is valid on Friday at noon. Now, the timing, the exact position of this is not nailed down. This is still, 5 days out from when I'm making this video, which means I've got a lot of time to kind of see how this whole system moves around. But it was in our last forecast update, so we've been watching this now for at least 4 days. And so this could be a pretty substantial player kind of moving forward. Now after this, the model, so after that kind of moves on off to the northeast and the really cold air comes plunging in behind it inside this trough here, it looks as though the snows are going to kind of spread to the northeast as well. Things do attempt to calm down for a few days as we get through the rest of the weekend, but we will need to be watching the presence of this upper level trough feature, because around a deep trough like this, we could get the chances for more scattered snow showers to kind of continue to rotate around this as we get into that colder air. So that was quite a bit of detailed meteorology here, but what it all points to, I guess, in the end is something like this. As the initial pulse gets going here, that first trough, this is the first location where we're going to see the snow spread earlier in the week. So we can see right in through here maybe some heavier snows, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches of snow here. Then as the second kind of pulse kind of intensifies and draws that low pressure center up through the lower Mississippi River Valley, eventually into parts of Tennessee and Kentucky, we're going to have enough cold air on the backside of this that we could be seeing somewhere in through here. It's not pinned down yet, but somewhere in through here some more significant snows. So those are your big impacts out of these two systems that are going through. So there's a lot to watch this week. And if you are watching this video out west, because of the switch in the overall flow pattern of the atmosphere, bringing that trough in that's going to cut right on into California, we're going to be seeing quite a bit of higher snowfall totals out in the mountains out west, which is honestly a welcome thing at this point. Now, I want to show you the update kind of on our mid-January thought. We've been talking about this quite a bit. It does appear that that overall breakdown in the pattern, which really started way out in the western Pacific, does point to a warmer time period, sometime, let's call this beyond about let's call this 10 days from now. The European model is still picking up on that warmth. This isn't record heat, and we're going to certainly see some cold air before this happens. But this, again, is that mid-January thaw we kind of been discussing. So the pattern had to break down to make this happen, and it most certainly did. I want to address a great question that I got, just because I'll be getting asked this quite a bit over the coming weeks, and that is, what in the world is spring going to look like? Now, there's a lot of uncertainty before we get into the longer range outlook for spring. And right now, the longer range European model is picking up on an early arrival of spring. But I want to talk about something a little more underlying than just the current forecast. You see, what I've got here, this is data from NOAA. This is the kind of the entire area-wide corn belt. We're looking at minimum temperatures, so minimum temperatures March through May. And every single year we've got here from 1895 to 2016. So what I want to make sure that a lot of folks see that are in the Corn Belt here is that over that time period from 1895 to 2016, we have seen about a 3-degree increase in Fahrenheit in the overall temperature. Now, notice every single year will deviate substantially from that trend, but there is a pretty significant upward trend of about 3 degrees. And what that really spells is, when you talk about minimum temperatures here, we're talking about lengthening our frost-free season. So when I get asked these questions about, oh, what am I expecting for, for this upcoming spring, what's going on here is that the probability of having a below average in terms of temperatures for our spring, which again is March, April, and May, that's what I'm defining it as, that probability is decreasing with time. And I just want a lot of folks to be able to see this upward trend in kind of our spring temperature, especially our spring minimum temperatures. So it's an important thing to be on the lookout for as we start getting into that longer range discussion about spring. But getting beyond that, I want to show you something that was very important about agriculture in South America. So I'm going to play for you all the precipitation that's fallen since New Year's Day, and I want you to really stay focused here on Argentina. That's been our big concern. Brazilian rains, this has been fine. The monsoon's set up. We do need to watch again for February and March for there to be some dryness, but I want you to keep your eye right down here. So as I click play, what we're going to see is that, things started off kind of dry, but you're going to watch here a couple of big pulses of precipitation, the big one right there, and then watch it again here at the end. You're going to see that after that big pulse kind of comes through, we did have a few drier days. But what you really see here is that if we step back, as that front kind of passed on through, we brought a lot of precipitation to that region we were discussing last time, which is down here in Cordoba, down here in the Buenos Aires province in Argentina. So this was desperately needed precipitation because they had a bit of a drier signature for the last, let's call it 45 days. Now, if we just look through the next 10 days, this is the European model's kind of ensemble outlook. We are picking up on a bit of a drier bias in the northern growing regions, so Mato Grosso, Goiás, Tocantins, this area is picking up a drier bias moving forward. But remember, this area is not really struggling on a large scale for precipitation. The monsoon really gets established here, Mato Grosso do Sul, Paraguay, kind of stretching right down here into the southern growing regions of Brazil. But what we do see is a bit of a drier patch over the next 10 days in this area. But if you get back all the way down into Argentina, again, we're seeing those same areas. So Cordoba is here, Buenos Aires province is here, looking to have a slight wet bias over the next 10 days as well. So I guess my point here is just to say that when it comes to South American weather stresses, the recent rains in parts of Argentina were beneficial, and most of Brazil, despite the delay in planting, has seen relatively routine and regular rainfall for quite some time. So it's important as we move into the harvest time period for the northern parts of Brazil to kind of keep a close eye on this precipitation. But I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We hope you look forward to Agrible's next ag forecast coming out on Thursday. To get morning farm report for your operations, complete with a daily email that shows you a snapshot of your field conditions each morning, go to morningfarmreport.com. Sign up for that free account. Full grower accounts are free if you sign up for our Sustainable Yield program or for growers who work with AD merchandisers. I look forward to talking again on Thursday.